Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Die Post by Franz Schubert. Before we take a listen to this song, I want to introduce you to the performers that we will be listening to. The first one is Dietrich Fischer-Dieskau, who is a baritone singer, and Murray Perahia, who accompanies him on the piano. As you can tell from the images to the right, both have had very long, successful careers in music. It's an absolute delight to be able to hear them sing on this particular track. Before we hit play, first let's examine the form of Die Post. Die Post could be viewed as a strophic piece, or even possibly a modified strophic piece. The overall form of the piece begins with an intro that leads directly into section A, and those two are very connected. And then you move into the B section, and then we have the interlude, once again, as a preface that's very connected to section A, and then back into the B section. Those A sections are major in tonality, and the B sections are minor in tonality. So if you chose to view each of those as being completely separate, it would seem like you literally just have an ABAB form with some interludes that occur. Verse-wise, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, A, B. Or if you chose to group A and B together as an entire musical thought, you do get that entire musical thought once again played in an almost identical fashion during the second half of the piece, and could view that as a verse in its entirety, even though it would be a compounded verse with really two verses in it. Either way you choose to view it, it still is strophic in nature, but possibly leaning towards modified strophic, depending on how you choose to listen to it. We'll now jump over to our Variations audio timeline, and we will have the delight of listening to this piece. We'll go ahead and start listening from the introduction of the piece. The introduction in the piano part, go ahead and listen for that driving eighth note part in the piano, as well as the text painting that occurs before the text actually enters, of that post horn arriving from the distance. Let's listen. At this point, the singer joins in. This is the major verse. There's also something interesting that occurs within the piano part during the major verses. The rhythm is da 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 da, and that is in contrast to the minor where we have da 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 da. So the minor is less driving, more melancholy, while the major is very hopeful in its energy. Let's listen to the major. This would be letter A.
Von der Straße her ein Posthorn klingt. Was hat es, dass es so hoch aufbringt, mein Herz? Was hat es, dass es so hoch aufspringt, mein Herz, mein Herz?
Moment of contemplative silence, and then we enter into the minor key. Let's listen for now the rhythm instead of da 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 da, the da 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 da. Here's the minor.
Die Post bringt keinen Brief für dich. Was trägst du denn so wunderlich? Mein Herz, mein Herz. Die Post bringt keinen Brief für dich, mein Herz, mein Herz. Was trägst du denn so wunderlich, mein Herz, mein Herz?
And then we return back to that interlude segment, which is very, very similar to the introduction. We'll listen to that now. Same exact idea as the introduction. We'll now listen to another major section.
Nun ja, die Post kommt aus der Stadt, wo ich ein liebes Liebchen hat, mein Herz. Wo ich ein liebes Liebchen hat, mein Herz, mein Herz.
We then get to the point where we go back to the minor. It almost seems like we have a real contrast between what the singer, what this man hopes for, and what the reality is. He hopes that his true love still loves him and that he'll hear from her and that they will have their happily ever after. That is what they hope. But the reality of it is he hasn't heard from her. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know if he still cares for her. He doesn't know if everything's all right with her. He doesn't know if she's moved on. He doesn't know exactly what is happening. And so we get to the reality section once again.
Willst wohl einmal hinübersehen und fragen, wie es dort mag gehen, mein Herz, mein Herz. Willst wohl einmal hinübersehen, mein Herz, und fragen, wie es dort mag gehen, mein Herz, mein Herz.
As the postman goes off into the distance to try and find an answer for this man. The last thing I'd like to point out that I hope that you've heard is just that prominence of mein Herz. You have the sympathetic piano that would occasionally play after those words were sung. And then you also have the multifaceted ways in which mein Herz was sung. Once again, mimicking the multifacetedness of the emotions of the heart. To me, that's what this piece is able to emulate. I hope that you've enjoyed listening to this screencast and this song. I also hope that you were able to draw conclusions of your own as you listen to this piece. Music is a wonderful art form, especially when coupled with poetry in the form of an art song, and can have endless interpretations. I hope that you've enjoyed my interpretation of this piece, and you've been able to draw some conclusions of your own. Feel free to listen to this screencast again if you desire to gain further insights, or to contact me if you have further questions about this piece. You may also feel free to look at any of the works cited pages that are indicated on the following slide. Thank you again for listening. Works cited include information obtained through Utah State University's Music Theory 3 class lectures taught by Dr. Timothy Chenette. The song Die Post comes from Franz Schubert, composer, and Wilhelm Müller, poet, who composed Winterreise. The recording we listened to was by Dietrich Fischer-Dieskau, baritone, and Marie Perahia, piano. Further information about this piece was obtained through IMSLP. The recording was obtained through iTunes, and further information about the composer, the lyricist, and also the piece in general was obtained through Wikipedia. If you have further questions, feel free to contact me, and I hope that you've enjoyed this lecture. Thank you.